Today, we're going to dive into some really fascinating new research that's all about making our AI assistants a whole lot smarter. We're not just talking about incremental improvements here. We're talking about an AI that can actually think and plan more like we do. Let's get into it. This is all about something called StructuredAgent.
You've been there, right? You ask an AI to do something kind of complicated, like find the best flight deal, book a hotel that's pet-friendly, and find 3 vegan restaurants nearby. For a second, you feel like you're living in the future, and then it just gets totally confused on step 2 and gives up. It's a super common frustration, and it points to a huge roadblock for AI right now.
So why does this keep happening? Why do even these incredibly powerful language models choke on what feels like a simple to-do list? Well, the research paper we're looking at today really digs into the core reasons AIs get so stuck.
The researchers basically pinpointed 4 main culprits. First, you've got limited memory. The AI literally forgets what it was doing a few web pages ago. Second, there's weak planning. It's just not good at thinking multiple steps ahead. Third, poor error handling. The second it hits a dead end, the whole mission just falls apart. And finally, something they call greedy behavior. That just means it grabs the first, easiest option it sees, even if that choice leads it right into a wall later on.
And this visual right here, it really drives that memory problem home. A single web page can be an absolute wall of text. The paper mentions that some pages have over 20,000 tokens. You can just think of tokens as little pieces of words. That is a huge amount of information for an AI to try and keep in its short-term memory all at once. It's really no wonder they get lost. Okay, so how do we fix this? Well, the team behind StructuredAgent did something pretty smart. They just took a step back and looked at how we solve problems. We don't try to tackle everything at once, right? We break things down, we make a plan. We literally make a to-do list.
And the big idea here has a name. It's called hierarchical planning. So instead of trying to climb this massive mountain in one single push, the AI learns to break the problem down into a series of smaller, much more manageable hills. It's all about creating a structured plan with big goals and all the little steps you need to get there.
So how does it actually build this plan? This is where it gets really cool. The AI doesn't just think of a plan in the abstract. It actually builds a visual map of its own thought process. And this map is called an and/or tree. Now, this whole map is built from 2 really simple but incredibly powerful ideas. First, you have and nodes. Think of these as your must-dos. They're the non-negotiable steps. To get the job done, you have to do this and this and this. Simple. But then you have or nodes. These are your choices, your backup plans. If one path doesn't work out, you can try this instead, or even this.
Okay, so let's walk through a real example from the paper to see how this works. The main goal is pretty straightforward. Find a vegan chocolate brownie recipe that has at least a 4-star rating.
So the very first thing StructuredAgent does is create its and plan. It logically breaks that big goal down. It knows it must first search for recipes, and then it must select one that fits the criteria, and finally, it must note down that recipe to actually finish the task. All 3 of those steps are essential.
And here is where the magic happens, the or plan. For that middle step, select recipe, the agent doesn't just blindly pick the first thing it finds. It actually recognizes that it has options. It can check out recipe A, or it can check out recipe B. So let's say recipe A turns out to be a dud. Maybe it only has a 3-star rating. No problem. The agent doesn't fail. It just moves on to its backup plan, recipe B. This is error handling baked right into its thinking process. It's just not so easy to get stuck anymore.
All right, so this all sounds great in theory, right? A planning, thinking AI. But does this structured approach actually lead to better results in the real world? Let's take a look at the data.
And yeah, the numbers are pretty clear. The researchers tested this on a really tough benchmark for AIs that involves complex, multi-step tasks across a bunch of different websites. And look at this. StructuredAgent got the job done 52.6% of the time. Now compare that to a more standard agent, which only succeeded 46.4% of the time. That's more than a 6-point jump, which is a really significant improvement in getting the task done right from start to finish.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This brings us right to the researchers' own conclusion. They put it very clearly, StructuredAgent improves performance on long-horizon web browsing tasks, and that's exactly the kind of complex stuff we want our AI assistants to be able to nail for us.
So what's the big picture here? I mean, this is obviously about way more than just finding the perfect brownie recipe. This structured, human-like way of thinking could unlock some seriously exciting possibilities for the future of AI.
So let's just quickly recap the main takeaways. Number 1, we get way better, much more detailed planning from the AI. 2,
error recovery is now part of the AI's core logic, which makes it so much more resilient. And 3, and this one is huge, because the AI creates that and/or tree, an explicit plan, its reasoning is way more transparent. We can literally see its thought process, which makes it much, much easier for developers to figure out what went wrong and fix it.
And all of that brings us to the big, final question I want to leave you with. Just imagine a world where our digital assistants don't just throw their hands up the second they hit a snag. Think about all the tedious, complex workflows out there. Deep research projects, super detailed travel planning, managing entire business processes. What could we really automate if our AI helpers were this reliable? That right there is the future this kind of research is helping to build.